Hi, my name is Barbara Derrick, and I'm here to talk to you a little bit about mindset. Mindset is a big topic nowadays. It comprises mostly centered around negative thinking. We know all about negative thinking. Most of us are familiar with it, and thinking can be negative or it can be positive. It can work for your better or for your good. But what we're unaware of a lot of times is what's really working on in the background of our minds internally. Not consciously, but unconsciously. And those are things of that internal mechanism that it's a protection. It's like when we are thinking of moving forward and doing something new, we become really scared. I don't know about you, but I like my comfort zone. And so when I'm introduced to something unfamiliar, the first thing is an uncomfortableness. And I know that being uncomfortable is not where a lot of us want to be. When I was 19, I wanted to write a book. And I have one paper saved from a journal when I was 19. And that refers to when I'm reading it, I can hear myself saying, I'm not good enough. One page sharing some of my ideas and deep and emotional. And when I get to the bottom, it says, who would read it? If I were to write, who would read it anyway? And when I discovered this piece of paper in a binder, it was in 2015 when I was launching a journey as a writer. I had co-authored a book, and now I wanted to write my first book. And my first book, as soon as I sat down to pen and paper, I was really uncomfortable and really scared, because the first thing I was thinking to myself is, what are people going to think? How are they going to feel about me? And then that negative thinking started to kick in. Well, I guess I'm just not good enough. Why would I want to do this? And the other thing is, why would I want to write a book? And it's the beginning of my journey in mindset and changing that thinking, because I became more aware of how many times I had repeated this to myself in different scenarios and circumstances. Really, when I was nervous, that was a trigger for me to become more aware. Mindset and changing it. What I needed to do is say, at the end of my thinking, and that resistance and that panic, is that life doesn't happen to me, it happens through me, and I'm successful and I get choices, right? Choices and opportunities that the world would offer me. And I'm thinking to myself, and for me too. I want for me too. And one example of a mindset was around food. Now, when I was growing up, I was told to not talk at the table. And lots of times there was lots of chit chatter and there would be trouble because we were talking at the table. And of course, we are what we eat. And if there's uncomfortableness or stress around eating or consuming good food, what happens is the body absorbs the energy. Well, it wasn't long that I was with a group of people and we were talking about very, very sensitive issues, which made me very upset, uncomfortable while I was eating raspberries. First of all, it was before the raspberry dessert, there was salmon. Well, eventually, and I can't put my fingers on it, but first it became the salmon. I could no longer eat the salmon. I love salmon. And then it became, I could not eat the raspberry. Every time I resisted and tried to eat raspberries, what would happen to me was I would end up with such a huge stomach ache that I avoided those two of my most favorite foods until I became aware of eating raspberry syrup and it triggered a stomach ache. And what I was thinking to myself as I was in agony was, when did this start? And as I backtracked, I couldn't believe that it was like 8 years ago when this conversation evolved. It was highly charged and emotional with this group of people. And I remember eating salmon for supper, followed by raspberry syrup drizzled over ice cream. Needless to say, I realized the content of the emotion and that I couldn't stomach what it was that I swallowed. And some of that conversation was around me. And I did not feel supported or encouraged at the time during dinner when as a child, I knew, as a child, my familiarity with the dinner table was not to talk at the table. So what I did was I quietly, and I'm telling you, this is not even maybe 60 seconds, thought about that, contemplated on it, and went, I will need to forgive the person who was talking and led me into that discussion. But first, I want to forgive myself for not protecting myself. And in further relationship conversations, I will ensure that I'm clear and communicate what is good for me and what's not. And then I looked at the other person and I said, as I visualized them, I forgive you. And then I let it go. It was not even 7 days, tops, when we were downtown at Tim Hortons and I wanted to get a muffin. Of course, it had some, I think it's called a fruit explosion, and it has raspberry inside of the center. And I was halfway through that and I realized, oh no. And I went, no, I'll let it go. Okay, whatever. I'm going to get another stomachache maybe. It didn't come. And that was my proof. That was my assessment. And it can be as quick as that. Back to the Mindset Hack Journal. 52 weeks. And of course, most of us only have 3 or 4 minutes, maybe 10 minutes to jot down a paragraph. So that's why there's only 1 page. But there's a 3-step formula within there that by the end of the week, that if you follow what's going on, you can track it and you can change it. How powerful is that? No, it's self-coaching, mentorship. And so I leave this to you. And today only, a bonus on top of when you sign up and you get a free ebook, you will be able to print the copy page by page or send it to the printers. The only thing is that when you sign up, I'm going to give you a bonus if you don't mind, and that will be, when you sign up, I will register you in my Leadership Art Mentorship. It's a Facebook community group of like-minded people, and we will see you then. Great positive mindset journey with you and for you, created for you. Talk to you later.